Hello, good evening, welcome, good morning to everybody, wherever you are on this beautiful planet Earth. This is Claudia here speaking, and I have two wonderful people with me, Mr. Bill Rowell, the CEO of Utopian Global, and Ryan Messer, the CEO of STORH. Hello, how are you guys?
Great, Claudia, thank you for the call.
Happy to be here.
Fantastic. So just quick brief what we're going to do today. We're going to probably the next 30 minutes, no longer than that, going to give you a brief overview about, of course, what STORH has achieved, because obviously this is a special webinar today. We are not going to do any presentations whatsoever. We're going to talk about the last year, since not yet quite a year, but almost a year. We have a very extremely great promotion that is thanks to Ryan. So I was very surprised at the beginning when he said it, like, wow, this is amazing. But yes, of course, tomorrow we also have Black Friday, so it is fantastic. And obviously Ryan and Bill, they're going to talk about a little bit about what we have gone so far done, what we have achieved, what projects, exciting projects, how they are basically on its way, because they're all on its way in some point or another. And yeah, so we're going to talk about that, and we're going to release some new features in the back office for you guys as well. Bill is walking you through that at the end of these 30 minutes. I know we have a lot of people still logging in, but don't you worry. We're gonna put it up in the YouTube channel, and if you have not yet gotten to the new YouTube channel, because we have a new YouTube channel, Utopian Global, as well, Facebook, as well as Instagram, Twitter, well, you got to follow us there so that you get always the latest updates as well on Telegram. So with that, I'm not going to talk further. I'm going to leave it to you guys celebrating the first anniversary of STORH.
Well, thank you so much, Claudia, for the introduction there, and it's great to have Ryan on the call. Thank you for getting back into the office in time from the field, Ryan. It's great to have you on the call.
No, it was good timing. So no, thanks for having me on. This is great. Of course, I couldn't miss this.
Yeah, well, let's give the people a bit of an update. The reason we've called this particular call, it's November's 2019. 2019 has been a mega year for STORH. Lots achieved. We probably lost some months in one sense. We're not still where we'd like to be because of late settlements and different things, but it's been a very exciting year in that respect, what we have achieved. And of course, now is to the future, what is in front of us. And before we go on to that, of course, I just want to touch on it, of course. For people on this call for the very first time, and there's many on this call for the very first time, people being referred to come to this particular call, business is relationships. And I've been in business since 1986, so that's over 30 years now. And I've known Ryan Messer. When I met him, he was the CEO of a public company. At that particular time in 2004, I invested significantly with him at that particular time. A couple of years later, Claudia, who hosting this call, actually invested as well, along with our bullion banker, Philip Judd. So there's a long association involved in this particular business. And of course, we saw the change happening in 2017, the crypto market and the ICO, initial coin offerings, where billions of dollars are raised, and probably 95% of those tokens and coins had absolutely zero intrinsic value. Some of them had great ideas, but most of them were theoretical. There was nothing of value there. And of course, much of that money, as we know today, has been lost. When I say lost, actually just transferred from the people to a very small few. So we came up with a concept after the crypto market changed in 2018, because Ryan's been involved in the natural resource sector for the last 20 years with the team, with even a bigger team, a more experienced team even than his experience, which is 20 years in that sense, to be able to provide real assets on the blockchain. And as a result of that, we're now celebrating our first year, and Ryan has actually just, of course, conducted the first general meeting of STORH. So with that, Ryan, maybe you give we don't want to give you all the details of your general meeting, because after this webcast, an email will be going out, which is actually what you've drafted. You've drafted a newsletter, comprehensive newsletter, which is giving all the details of what we've achieved, where we're heading. We address the situation of distributions. We address the situation of token estimated value upon deployment on an exchange. So there's a lot for people to take in, and I think reading it on the document is going to be the best thing. So with that, Ryan, I'll pass it over to you. Maybe you want to give a bit of a summary.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. It's certainly been a great year. I mean, and a lot's changed in the market as well, and so we've adjusted, we've adapted to that, but we haven't deviated from our original mission, right? And that was all around developing assets that were non-theoretical, that we knew we could execute on, that would have an impact on the environment, and be essentially shovel ready or very near term. And when we started, of course, we incorporated the company around November of 2018, so it was coming up on a year. But as you know, and as a lot of the folks know that have been with us since the start, we were just barely getting going at that point. We didn't have a website, we didn't have a white paper really. So we've come a long way, and part of our strategy has refined. We've honed it in quite a bit from where we were even 12 months ago. You mentioned the closing of our largest asset, Raccoon Bend. Yeah, that certainly took a lot longer than we anticipated. I don't want to continue to use that as an excuse, because look, sometimes things take a little longer than you anticipate, but it was certainly worth the wait for us. And we knew that at some point we were going to close, and we were going to put this asset under our belt. And we talk about that in the newsletter a little bit, and what that means for shareholders, because it's huge. And a lot of people got on board because it's and a lot of people came out to the field. We did 2 field visits out in Texas. We had a larger group on the second run, which was great. I think the picture is somewhere in this slide deck. But you know, I think people are interested in the same thing that got me interested in the oil business or the energy business 20 years ago, and that was seeing these fields produce 24/7. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, generating positive cash flow. And so for a lot of people, if you think about what you're doing with your time, you're trading your time for money. And if you can find other ways and let other things work for you while you're sleeping, man, you figured it out. And so that's why we put this asset in the company as our foundational or strategic asset, because again, it's going to produce, and it's going to produce for the next 25 to 30 years. We've got a certified reserve study backing all that up from a certified engineer, an ex-Exxon engineer, by the way, who is now on the team of the operator who manages this field for us. So all that being said, we've been raising capital to essentially, pay up the balance of the field, so that at some point, we can send out distributions, because I think that's what really enticed a lot of people to STORH and to this particular asset. And we talk about that in the newsletter. And I think we have some very positive news that that you'll have to read about tomorrow or later today when that is published. So I'll leave it at that. But I'll say, as a result of our board meeting, and I just got back from California a couple days ago, having had this board meeting, and it was great getting everyone together and getting the feedback from the team and kind of where we've been and the opportunities that are in front of us. I love looking at new opportunities, but when all that dust settles, I want to focus on what I know we can execute on today. And that's, of course, Raccoon Bend, which we've closed on, which I want everyone to be a part of. I want everyone to have an interest in that. And you'll read a little bit about the performance of this asset and what that could mean to you if you're not already a STORH member or you want to increase your holdings. I think this is a very important time to relook at, like I said, acquiring more STORH, getting someone that involved. The second thing is, and this is a little summary of the field here. It's a huge field. It's great. It's going to be around a long time. One of the main areas that we really focused on, and this is a problem all around the world, is not just relegated or it doesn't revolve around one particular area of the world, or sometimes in the US, we become very myopic and think about what's going on in our backyard. This is happening everywhere. I work with a guy in Europe, and he just said, man, he's a big surfer, and he's just like, you would not believe the amount of trash that piles up behind these walls here around these beautiful, what used to be beautiful, pristine beaches. So this is an issue that we can really all get behind, right? Whether you're an investor or not, or you just want to make a donation because you realize that, you know, that we can make a huge impact, and we can recycle, reuse. I shouldn't use the word recycle because there is a difference between processing plastic and converting it back to fuel and recycling, but this is an area that we know really well. And that's one of the things that we talked about extensively in our board meeting is there's almost no one more strategically positioned than we are in the knowledge that we have in-house and our connections to execute on this plan. So we're literally in rolling out this company as we speak. We should have a website really soon. I'll be going on a series of trips here over the next 30 to 60 days, meeting with all the manufacturers that have leading edge equipment. Because again, remember what our vision is. I don't want to reinvent the wheel, right? I don't want to think that, you know, we're going to come up with the new next best technology. These guys have been in the market for decades, and in some cases are on their 5th, 6th, 7th generation of equipment that can convert plastics to fuel. So this is not something that's new, but it's something that is underutilized. And if you look at, I think somewhere, and there's a graph, and I think if we put it in the newsletter, it shows you all the plastics that are created, expressed you know, on a graph, and it shows you that about 8% of those are actually recycled or reused or repurposed or put through this plastics to fuel type process. That's nothing. And so we have a huge opportunity in front of us. That's what I look at, is that 92% of all the plastic that does not go through some sort of process and become reused. It's just tragic that a lot of that ends up in landfills or ends up in the ocean and becomes microplastic and will never be seen again. Not to mention the environmental damage. So this is something that has huge growth potential. And again, because we are already in the fuels and oil business and on the logistics and marketing side, we can add tremendous value and tremendous margin to this particular sector. So we're at the phase now where we are talking to technology partners, and we are looking at various partnerships on ocean cleanup companies as well. So we'll be announcing something as soon as we have that locked down as well, but we're in discussions with a couple companies now that are in the ocean cleanup business. So for us, very strategically positioned in, not only are we supporting the cleanup process, but we're supporting the conversion back to a fuel. So those are a couple of the main points, Bill, that I think I wanted to cover that hopefully resonate with the people. Because remember, we're all stewards of this planet, and it's our responsibility, no one else's, to look after our planet for our future generations.
Yeah, just to go back to this last slide, please, Claudia, if you don't mind, on the pyrolysis unit, because as you can see, it's a huge machine. So primarily for the people on the call for the very first time who's hearing about this, in summary, it's quite simple. You put plastics in, you extract hydrocarbons, you're extracting fuel that comes out. But that fuel, of course, Ryan, just can't be sold directly to the market. It has to be mixed on the midstream, and this is where yourself and Randall have the edge, correct?
We do, yeah. I mean, we run a company called BlackRock Midstream today, and so and we have other people on our team as well. It's not just Randall and I, but we are the two. We're two executives of STORH, so we're the ones that, of course, our names stick out. But it's a huge part of the business. Whether you're further distilling the pyrolysis oil back down into a fuel, that fuel also has to be blended as well. So it doesn't just go directly to the petrol station and into someone's vehicle. It gets processed further down the line as well. So we're looking at, depending on the markets that we end up deploying these systems, that will determine the type of product that we'd be interested in creating with the plastic. So you can create different types of oils, kerosenes, diesels, various grades of fuels and oil is all I'll say without getting into a tremendous amount of detail, because again, it does depend on the market. And so every one of those has a cost, the benefit analysis that has to go through, and a feasibility study. So we're in that feasibility study and financial modeling right now. We're picking our partners. We're looking at some strategic partnerships on the environmental side as well, as I mentioned. And so we're making huge strides there. Not only that, I'll mention that we're in the early phase of partnering with a US company to be our advisor to go after the US market, so the institutional and high net worth market. And it will be very focused on that business model, nothing else. It will not be focused around mineral reclamation and land remediation, which of course is a STORH asset, and it's something we're continuing to work on as well. I do briefly touch on that in the newsletter. That's moving forward, but again, I'm focusing on what I know we can execute in the near term, because Ecuador is a little bit further down the road. So obviously, we're keeping our eye on that project and pushing that forward, but you know, these LOIs and stuff take a little time.
Yeah, yes, they do. I mean, the Ecuador and Peru project are huge projects, billion-dollar operations, so they're certainly going to take time, but certainly having the team already there. And in fact, this image here depicts you in Ecuador with Philip Judge and, of course, Robin Slaughter, who's been an engineer and working in these regions for, I think, the last 35 years. In fact, when you came back and we had our meeting, Ryan, you were most impressed with Robin and his knowledge in the region.
The guy's brilliant. Like I said, he's probably been in the minerals business longer than I've been on this planet. And the guy is sharp. He's just full of energy, and he speaks Spanish quite well. So him and Philip got along really well. I don't speak Spanish, unfortunately, for me. So they had to do a lot of translating for me. But the picture on the left, that's Robin on the far left. And of course, that's me. I lost my bags, so I wore those clothes for about four days. And the guy, the third guy from the left, that's Philip Judge. And then the other three gentlemen run the mine that we were out there in Ecuador. And we spent a good few days evaluating, looking at projects, and really great people, beautiful environment conditions there, but you know, a lack of technology and a lack of information and a lack of funding. So huge opportunities to do there. But of course, you know, these negotiations take time. And so I don't want to promise something I can't deliver on by saying, oh, we're going to be out in Ecuador in 6 or 9 months, because I don't know that yet. So we haven't, with the exception of me traveling to Ecuador, which I do on the cheap, we've incurred no expenses in that regard. So we're focusing and being very, very tight with our budget, with STORH's budget. I mentioned this to an investor I spoke to in Australia the other day. I was on the phone with, I believe, Wednesday night. You know, we don't carry any salaries. You know, we don't, unlike when I had the public company, we were burning $1 million a year in that public company, whether we had revenue or not. That's not the case with STORH. We don't take salaries. There's no consulting fees being extracted out of this company. I want 90-something% of the capital raised to go directly into projects. The balance will go, of course, just in normal, you know, the conducting of business and things that have to occur, and some travel, but we keep it very tight.
Well, this is actually a very important point in today's world. You hear of companies where they've even collapsed, even banks have collapsed, and yet the chief executive officers of these companies, quite often Fortune 500 companies, get a multi-million-dollar payout, and of course the company's gone bankrupt. There was one that happened just recently, of course, and to me that's immoral. So you, like me, Ryan, like everyone else on this call, we're going to get paid on results. We are installed. So we have to, this has to come to the market, and this has to be successful. This is our absolute key focus. And as you can see on the slide here, this is our going to be a new dashboard, which will go live very soon for the promotion, which we'll speak about that in a moment. But as soon as members log into Utopian Global, the first page they're going to see is this page here, STORH Equity Token. And for a limited time, Ryan has given us a promotion to be able to get bonus STORH, for the idea to compound some growth, some cash flow coming in, because we want to speed up this pyrolysis process. And of course, finalize the Raccoon Bend asset. But what's really important, there's a lot of people miss the picture of what we're doing here. STORH is an equity token. It's a digital share in one sense. and the asset valuation increases based on the assets that we purchased. Now, we just saw the 3 assets that we've purchased already. We saw the pyrolysis from the midstream operation, Polystream, and we also saw the projects in Ecuador and Peru, which are really, I mean, strong projects, which will also drive the STORH token price based on valuations and revenues generated. And when you log into your office, you're going to see a number of things. In fact, there's a second part to this, but you won't see it on this particular slide. It's going to show you the number of STORH tokens that you actually own, what price you bought them at, what your average price is, what the value is based on the current price, and what the estimated price is when it hits when we go to an exchange at €4. I mean, this is strong, and you have to understand that you are the owner of these assets, binded by a legal document, and these assets grow in value based on the acquisitions of what we're actually doing. So you on this call are all part of that. If you're not part of it yet, now's the perfect time. If you're going to get bonus tokens, and it's for a limited time, it's going to run for about 2 weeks, we believe. And it really does show the money. In fact, just as the example here, this particular person has a bit over 160,000 STORH tokens based on the current value. In fact, they did well. They bought at 10 cents. They're at 48 cents now, but there's a long way to go to €4. There's a lot of work to do, Ryan. There's a lot of infrastructure to build and revenues to generate to get us to that €4 mark. But you can see the capital appreciation based on these assets. This is our target. This is where we want to get at the end of 2020, 2021 to be able to list so people can really optimize their investment, because that's when you'll get paid, I'll get paid, and our store owners will get paid primarily. So we're not earning incomes, correct?
That's right. Yeah, that's the key. I mean, we all need equity in this because, again, you know, this is a holding company for assets that are going to be in production and are going to generate positive cash flow every month. So that's what our focus is. That's why we're doing this bonus. We're reaching out to some new markets, so we want to put everybody on the same playing field by doing that. And so we're in a big push here because we've got about a month and a half before the holidays. So big push so that we can move forward with our first pyrolysis plant. And of course, the faster we can raise some capital as well, we can, and we talked about this in our newsletter, the faster we can pay out distributions based on, Raccoon Bend and the positive cash flow that it kicks out every month. So I'll let you continue and sort of talk about the bonus structure. But, this is essentially, STORH giving up something, Utopian Global giving up something to give back to the members and really push this forward. I think the message needs to get out now to get involved. Now is probably the best time to get involved since we've started this.
For sure. Well, people coming in today have the benefit of actually getting bonus STORH tokens at a time when we actually own assets. Now, people who came in at 10 cents, we didn't even have a website. Yep. I mean, the white paper didn't come out until January this year. So the people who got in at 10 cents did exceptionally well, but they got it cheap because there was higher risk. Now we have real assets behind us, and here they're getting bonus tokens. So this is really exciting. So you can see the quantum packages. And
from there, think about 6 to 12 months from now when we've got our first pyrolysis plant up and running, and then somebody who's watching this webinar today decided not to get involved and wait till that point in time when we're, probably over a euro or €1.50. And, you wish you would have gotten in at 48 cents. So it's always the way, right? It's easy to look back in time and because you're always right when you look back in the rearview mirror. But as you pointed out, the people that got in at 10 cents euro, we didn't own anything. We had 0 assets. All we had was a business plan. But we've executed. We've acquired Raccoon Bend. We're pushing forward very, very fast on this pyrolysis and polystream, plastics to fuel initiative. And so now's the time to get on board before we launch that.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, the most important thing we had upon launch was your experience and the team. I mean, that's really what the people are investing in. Otherwise, we could be just blah, 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 selling a good story. So a solid team that I've been involved in, now for 15, 16 years, which is fantastic. So these are the quantum packages. You see the bonuses there. Let's go over to the premium packages, Claudia. But primarily, whether you're a quantum buyer or whether you're a premium package buyer, everybody is going to get the STORH tokens, the bonuses at the same price. Now, this offer is only available for the members who are buying packages from €390 upwards. They're not available for the €99 package. They're not available for the €170 package. But if you're buying a €390 package or a €250,000 package, you're getting the STORH tokens. It's an equal playing field. That's why it's the best time to get in and build your STORH, to be able to build that capital growth when we head towards listing. And as Ryan said, as you raise the capital, next year, not too far away, we'll be looking at paying out the distributions based on, much of this is mentioned in the newsletter, in the comprehensive newsletter that actually Ryan has put out. What's the next slide, Claudia?
Absolutely, Bill. But I wanted to touch a little bit more on, obviously, the other slide with the higher packages, because you sort of went very brief on that, so that people really understand it, because sometimes you're just looking at too many numbers and you don't really get it. So as you see here, we have those packages we call the quantum packages, and obviously you see here the amounts of tokens you're going to get. So we were, of course, since it was raised last time, you would have gotten for €9,000 actually 15,625 STORH. Now Ryan is going to give an extra bonus token here of 3,125, which of course then sums up to 18,750 token. So this is how you work it out. And of course, on the lower package, this is even looking bigger, because you see here, so far until basically today, you would get, with the new price increase after the latest drilling in Raccoon Bend, you got 325 STORH for your 390 package. Well, now you're going to get another 487 on top of it, means you're actually getting 812 tokens, STORH tokens, shares, digital shares for your package. I mean, this is very, very significant.
And what that means, Claudia,
yes.
And what that primarily means is that whether you're buying the 390 package or a €250,000 package, you're getting the discount rate that what a person will be getting at a high quantum package. This is really the bonus. So people at these levels are really going to actually have a huge bonus of that. So the easy way to divide it up is you take the €3,500, divide that by the 48 cents, and that's going to give them the total number of tokens that you're actually receiving. That's why it's such a great deal, and I'm really appreciative that Ryan and the board voted on this to be able to do this for a limited time.
Yes, it's pretty amazing. Even my mother is going to invest now. So, you know, very often with your relatives, it takes a little bit longer. But anyhow, so what I was going to say is really, again, like in German English for you is, so what Bill also mentioned, but sometimes people don't really grasp that. So I speak slower, and I hope you're going to get it. It doesn't matter if people come in with, and Ryan said, he mentioned, he also is obviously talking with big investors. It doesn't matter if you come in as a big investor or does you come in with small money. At the end, we have one goal and one goal only. And that is to purchase as many assets as we can, so that we get as long as we can paid from the production of these assets. So right now in the newsletter you're going to read, you will read, obviously, we have right now the free oil basically assets, which is Raccoon Bend and then the two minor assets. So obviously what you're going to read on the calculations there, on the estimates based on the different oil prices, that could be the returns on that, or will be the returns on that once you get the distribution. But of course, as you know, and as you hopefully by now understand, is this is only the very beginning. We gonna really full steam ahead with polystream, plastic to fill. That means, of course, we have more assets under the belt. More assets under the belt mean more money into your pocket. So as faster you guys are talking with other people, as faster we're going to share the message with other people, as more people will we attract, as bigger your pocket will fill up. Very simple, and I hope you get it now. So with that, again, just to finish up, because we are 3 minutes over the time, it's not how much money you make, as Robert Kiyosaki would say, but how much money you keep, how hard it works for you, and how many generations it keeps working for you. Because I'm here, well, obviously, because I want to get paid many, 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 many years ahead, because I don't get a German pension fund. So this is my pension fund, and I have everything in it. So with that, thank you, Bill. Thank you, Ryan, for this great explanation. And again, check out your inbox. Often and very often, unfortunately, it goes into spam. So you got to check your spam filter. If you don't know what spam is, go to Mr. Google and Google spam. But probably most likely, if you don't see the email in your inbox, which is going to go out in 5 minutes from now, then check again your spam filter, or maybe some email, they have this Boxby thing, so you need to allow and you need to whitelist Utopian Global. So with that, again, thanks Ryan, thanks Bill. I don't know if you want to add something.
Claudia, yes. Sorry to interrupt you there. Could you go back to the dashboard image, please, if you don't mind, just quickly? Because this is going to be going live within the next hour. So when each member logs in, you'll start to see this here straight away. The promotion with the bonus tokens will not go live until tomorrow, but you'll see the new dashboard. And from tomorrow, you'll start to get the new bonus tokens. But you'll certainly see how many STORH that you own today, what price you've actually purchased them at, what the average price actually is, and how much growth we're looking at doing it. And this is just the first part of that particular page. There is a second part to it, which is more comprehensive again, but it certainly tells the picture very clearly. And for our affiliate members, if you're enrolling a free member, when they come into the account, when they log in for the very first time after registering, they're going to see this, which is absolutely awesome, because one, it's going to show them, okay, where STORH's come from, what it owns, and secondly, where it's going. And even at 48 cents, there's a long way to go, and they can be huge winners in this as well. So this is fantastic. And so this will, when you start to log in about an hour from now, this page will be live, probably less than an hour actually, but let's give it an hour so we know how things are. So with that, that's all from me. And we look forward to Saturday's webcast. First of all, tomorrow, later on, Claudia, when's the newsletter? We expect the newsletter to be going out in the next hour as well, I believe. 5 minutes,
I mentioned it before, if you listened.
5 minutes, okay. I was chatting with our IT department at that time. So Ryan, thank you for this comprehensive update on the newsletter that I've read. It's fantastic. It gives us the roadmap of where we've come from and where we're actually heading. And I'm sure many of our members are going to be very, very pleased with that. And we look forward to the high growth of STORH over the next months and years ahead. So thanks, Ryan.
Sounds great. Thank you so much. Glad I could be a part of it. Let me know how I can help. Thank you.
Fantastic. So thank you guys all. And again, check out your inbox for that newsletter. And I see you all on Saturday. Thank you.